back. It's another episode of 343. I'm your host, AF, and I'm really excited for this one. We, as you can see, have increased the numbers on our panel as well. So once again, I'm joined by Ziyaad Parker, Jason, Ronnie, Mubeen, Ahmed, and a special warm welcome to a 343 newbie. She's a good friend of mine and a diehard Liverpool supporter, Nikita Koopman. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man.
So, as is customary on the show, we normally have a bit of an icebreaker for first-timers. So, Nikita, if you could relive any football event in history,
2005 Istanbul.
Oh, whoa. I didn't even finish that question. That comeback.
Quick draw, McGraw. Yeah.
Come on, how can it not be that answer? And I'll never forget, we were writing algebra the next day, Ahmed. And I think I came to school with like YNWA written on my stomach or my face or something. I was so
you had your scarf on. Mr. Leonard had his scarf on. It was crazy.
Yeah, so 100% Champions League final 2005, 3-0 down at halftime, crying. That was my favorite footballing moment of all time, for sure.
Nice one. So, last week signaled the close of the transfer window, and it was an absolutely insane window. Jason, do you want to fill us in a bit about that?
Yeah, man, what a crazy transfer window. I think in a post-COVID sort of a time, we went in not expecting many things to actually go through. I was just reading up about this, preparing for this, and I read somewhere that the English clubs had the most spend out of, I think they had something like 823 or 24 million Great British pounds spent, and that's actually second and third place, which was Italy and France. They actually combined, and they still didn't have the same amount. So numbers were thrown like it was crazy. I think in terms of the best transfer window, I'd maybe go Man United. I think they've acquired enough star power to fit into the system that they potentially want to play. Whether they have the manager to actually take them there, that's something completely different. Looking further into Europe, I'd also like to signal PSG. I think they acquired quite a bit of talent at, like, I think the total cost came to like 60 mil. So to acquire Messi on a free, Ramos, Wijnaldum, obviously leaving Merseyside, sorry, Nikita. And then Hakimi, Donnarumma, I think they have something set up once again. Whether their coach can actually take them to that new height, that leaves much to be questioned.
Is that a slight dig at Spurs there because of Pochettino?
100%. I'm not holding back. He has this thing about him, man. He's just a complete bottler. Unfortunately, hopefully this season it gets a bit better.
Spoken like a true gunner there.
How do you stop PSG from winning the Champions League? You make them manager Pochettino.
No, 100%. In terms of who I felt maybe had not one of the worst transfer windows, but maybe not something that we expected. It hurts me to say this, but I think Arsenal actually, and not from the spectacle of us spending quite a bit of money, but I think just that we were not able to get rid of all the dead wood that we have at our club, that's still holding us back, I think. Another, maybe Nikita can maybe weigh in. I think Liverpool didn't really do what they potentially wanted to do. I think probably only the one signing of Konate. But I think something's definitely happening there. That's interrupting all of those.
I think I'll touch on it a little bit later, but I think there's a big disconnect, probably the biggest discord in the club that we've seen, probably, for the first time, other than, kind of like Super League project big picture last season between fans and I suspect potentially management and ownership in the club. But I'll touch on it a bit later.
Yeah. So man, that's what I found. It was crazy just to see the number of transfers happening. And even just reading up, there were certain players that I hadn't even known had moved on to like different clubs. Many loan deals happening. But yeah, it's just a really crazy time. And I think this is what we would have probably got if we did have that Super League actually go through. I think things of this nature would have happened more regularly, and maybe it could still happen. I don't know.
No shout out for Chelsea and the work they did this window, Mr. Ronnie?
Look, I think Lukaku definitely, yeah. And okay, if we want to look at all of the outgoing, they maybe did what Arsenal should have done. And literally got rid of all the deadwood there. Like I think they amassed something like 100 odd million in sales, and then they spent a fraction, or not even a fraction, but they spent a hefty figure getting Lukaku back. I think I'm just running at a loss now. Who else did they get in this window besides
on
Lukaku?
a loan,
Yeah.
I think a 4 million euro loan deal with the option to buy, I think is an
Okay.
excellent addition
Okay.
to their midfield.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, and like you said, I think they did an excellent job at, I mean, like Zuma's now moved on, Tammy
Yeah.
They got
Abraham with the
pretty
option to buy
decent-
back.
Yeah, they got a pretty decent sum for Zuma as well. I mean, 30 million,
Yeah,
that's
30 million.
that's
They
quite good
robbed the
business.
West Ham blind there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, shout out Nikita. Yeah, definitely Chelsea then as well. I'd like to add that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's been a very interesting window. Like my pick thus far has been obviously Cristiano Ronaldo, because for the amount that United got him for, I think they're paying 3 million a season for the next 4 years or something, or 3 years, sorry. Yeah, it's crazy money. But yeah, like Nikita, you mentioned that you're going to get to Liverpool a bit later. So yeah, like they didn't really have the best transfer window. From a fan's point of view, can you run us through that?
Yeah, I mean, geez, it's tough. It's a big bitter pill to swallow sitting here, transfer windows closed, or actually even on transfer deadline day. You know, I remember a couple of years ago, you would sit up 11 o'clock, watch Sky News, hoping something goes through, you know. But really tough to be a Liverpool fan after that window. To be fair, after the last kind of 3 windows, I would say, to go from winning the league and then the ownership kind of taking the position that, you know, that was good enough. You know, winning everything in one season was good enough, and not strengthening from that position of power is definitely tough to take, because we know the potential in the Liverpool squad, and we know that with a couple of kind of critical, I would say, you know, 2 additions, we could probably have mounted a title challenge again this season. And to see, like Jason mentioned, like, I mean, Chelsea, United, City, even strengthening in the way that they did. It's just, you know, I can honestly put my hand up and say today, I don't think Liverpool's a title contender. I think the best we can do is to secure Champions League football again for next season. And, you know, when you look outside of England, when you're looking at the way that, I mean, the Italian clubs have even, other than Juventus, who had a complete, like, kind of disinvestment. And you look at the likes of PSG, I mean, it makes it very hard to fathom that European glory is in our sights for somewhere around June 2022. So really, really tough. And I think tough also for fans, because like I mentioned, you know, there's such now a big discord between the 2 groups, FSG in, FSG out. It is very difficult to be me, and I think I'm in a small sliver of a gray area in the middle, because I really do appreciate, you know, all the things I've done financially for the club, bringing us back from basically financial ruin to where we are now, competing, or we were competing, winning big things. But maybe the club has just gotten too big for their ownership. That's where I am now. And if I look at the performance of you know, what they've put together in this transfer window, maybe it's a sign that they're trying to show up the squad. They've done the investment in the training center. They're finalizing the investment in Anfield, and maybe they're looking to sell. Maybe that's the reality for Liverpool fans in the next few years, because I don't think if I look at the way that football's progressed today, I don't think that normal billionaires are going to be able to own football clubs in the next 5 to 10 years. If you look at Newcastle, Newcastle is too big for the billionaire South African, Mike Ashley, and it's Newcastle. You know, every year they dilly-dally between getting relegated and promoted. If a club like Newcastle was too big for a billionaire, then I believe a club like Liverpool with our kind of star power, our kind of support globally is maybe too big for FSG, and the likes of your sovereign nations, like, you know, like we have at the Etihad and at PSG is probably what's going to become more and more likely. And I would be highly doubtful if we don't see more investment from Asia soon, because I think that is really a market that is untapped and there's a lot of commercial playing power. So I know I'm talking a lot of commercials. I should have put away my desk job before I joined. But yeah, I think a big thing, a lot to do with money. I mean, we mentioned the Super League earlier as well. I think it's inevitable. I think Jason hit the nail on the head. This kind of transfer window is what we would see every year with the ESL. And no one can tell me that that does not get you flipping excited. I mean, I was close there to hoping that Ronaldo even went to PSG just so I could see that him and Messi play together. Sorry, Ziyaad, you had a question.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, the ownership thing is a big issue because obviously you've got that American money coming in, and the way the American sports work is they work on cycles. So once you win, ownership doesn't double down to look to win again. No one other than, you know, Michael Jordan and maybe the Miami Heat and the Warriors at the one point where they want to go back to back and win again and defend their title. Most teams after they win, they break it down, they tear down. The Boston Red Sox, which is the other team FSG owns, as soon as they won the World Series, they traded some of their players, they bottomed out and they started becoming competitive again with younger players. And what you'll see is that as they're ready to kind of go over the hill and start competing for World Series again, they will then sign those players or trade for guys that can get them over the hump. So with Liverpool, for example, once they won, they were never going to invest more. They were just going to kind of stick with what they have and see how long they can stay competitive. But I suppose football is very different to the American sports in that way, is where there is no cycle, you know, like even Arsenal has American ownership, United. So they believe in cycles. They'll win once and then they'll go through a rebuild. Whereas the sovereign nations that you mentioned, they go all in. They double down. You know, you get Abramovich as well at Chelsea. They want to win all the time because it impacts them personally, you know, their reputation. Whereas with the ownership group and the Americans, they're not too bothered, because if it's not the Red Sox winning, then Liverpool win, and when Liverpool aren't winning, hopefully the Red Sox win. You know, it's the same with Arsenal, where they've got the Rams at the moment to one of the top NFL teams, so they put all the eggs in that basket. Then you got the Denver Nuggets, who they also own, who have the MVP in their ranks as a basketball team. So it's just cycles, man, and unfortunately it is what it is. I don't know if we're going to get a lot more of this Qatar and UAE type money at this level, because the richest guys already have their teams, but you should see this type of investment into the smaller clubs, you know, like Villa, Newcastle. These guys are ripe for a rich Saudi or a rich someone from the Gulf to come in and put their money in.
Spot on. But you know, why do we block that? Sorry, Ahmed.
No worries. Like I was just going to say now, speaking about like Saudis, I think a Saudi conglomerate ended up buying Sheffield United. So it seems like they're going for the lower league and then trying to build up from there and just establish their brand from a lower point.
But I think you're spot on, and they're doing that because the Premier League want to hold on to that Big Six majority. Like, I mean, I found it was absolutely ridiculous that they stymied that Newcastle deal last year. Yeah. Surely more, I mean, they don't want more competition in the Premier League. Whereas, in my opinion, they should have let it go through, because Arsenal is no longer a Big Six club. Sorry, Jason. I just had to put it out there. Sorry. Well,
Speaking about Arsenal, they actually made a couple of signings in this window. And it seems like the club is backing Arteta, even though it's been Arsenal's worst start to the league in, I don't know, I think it's the history.
67 years.
Yeah, but Edu basically gave an interview, and can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, before I go into that, just a shout out to Mubeen. How's it going, mate? You okay there?
I'm fine. I'm just listening to all the banter, all the comments, the input,
Okay, just checking
biding
in
my
on you.
time, waiting for my slot fourth on the list.
Yeah, just delaying talking about this team. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple, man. I think this is what Arsenal should have done from the start. When they handed Arteta the job, instead of doubling down and signing a guy like Willian, David Luiz, they signed these guys who are over 30 when their team's not ready. What they needed to do was clear the team out, sign the young guys, and then start building. It makes sense what they're doing now. It's just coming at a high cost, obviously, because the squad is in such bad shape that they have to actually go buy fundamental foundation pieces. And also they just didn't plan properly. They still thought they were competing for something that they weren't competing for. So if you look at the ages of the players they brought in now, fantastic. They're all on the same timeline, but they haven't moved on from the Granit Xhakas and those types of players who unfortunately just aren't leaders. You know, what other teams did in similar situations. If you take Liverpool, for example, they had guys like Jordan Henderson come in, who's a leader. James Milner, they signed. Even City, when they started coming up, they bought Gareth Batty, you know, and that's a guy you bring into your team and you can use him for his leadership and then build around him and get better players. And slowly that player will be phased out, right, by your younger players who are actually going to be the stars. The thing I like about the interview, they're taking responsibility. There's some transparency, and ultimately they're going to be responsible by the results that they achieve. And look, I know we're in a world where everything is in the moment, you know, every 24 to 48 hours is a news cycle, but it's where you end, man. So at the end of the day, I think if Arteta gets through the next 2-3 months and results don't improve, then he's definitely going to be on his way out. But I like that we committed to a direction now where you can actually see that they're going to rebuild. So, yeah.
Can we really judge Arsenal after they've played in their first 3 fixtures, the European champions and then the Premier League champions? I mean, realistically,
yeah,
I don't think that's fair.
With the results, it's tough, but I think the biggest disappointment is how we played, you know, and that it doesn't look like you have a real system. The players don't look like they know what they're doing. I mean, Reece James
the players just look disinterested.
Yeah, so from that perspective, I mean, even with the injuries, it doesn't look like they had a direction. So what you're hoping for now with all these new players, once they're all fit and available, you want to see that direction. But if you don't see that, then you're going to see a lot of disgruntled fans, if not more than what they are now already.
Do you think there's any opportunity potentially for you guys to move some of the dead wood, as you guys put it, out in Jan? I mean, you say Granit Xhaka, but I mean, he's a club captain. You know, they reward him with
wasn't he just a new contract?
He throws himself to Roma all through the summer,
and
then he comes back and he gets rewarded with a new contract.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. It's a bit bizarre.
That is weird. So I mean, I don't know. The leadership is poor in the club, and I think they have a club captain there ready and waiting in Kieran Tierney, and they just need to give him the armband. I mean, just because Aubameyang scores 25 to 30 goals a season doesn't mean he's a captain. You have to move on, and your leader has to actually lead. It's not Granit to sliding 2-footed into tackles. Leave that to me. You know, let me take people out. And you just do your thing, but
like I said on the last episode, is that Arsenal haven't found a leader in the dressing room or on the field. They haven't appointed a national leader, national captain, and build the team around that. They've strengthened here and there, but again, no leader was brought in. They're not identifying a leader, and I think if they still want to call themselves a Big Six club, yes, 2 tough fixtures in the opening 2 weeks, but they still needed to compete. You know, they could have lost 1-0, but a performance still could have been put out on the field, and you know, fans would have still seen, okay, you know, there's something happening. You know, there's something to be excited about for this season. But that hasn't happened. So I don't know. I feel Jason and Ziyaad's pain. I mean, I think United was the 5-6 seasons ago, where there's no direction, nothing happening. You're wondering, you know, what is it?
What are we actually building towards?
Yeah. And the same in the transfer window, it's difficult. And I'm going to use United as an example again, 5-6 seasons ago, because you're getting such bad results, you're not making Champions League. It's difficult to attract top names to want to come to the club. And I think Arsenal are obviously finding themselves in that position right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. But okay, let's close the chapter on Arsenal and move over to our team, Mubeen, Man United, with that blockbuster Cristiano Ronaldo return. How will this impact the rest of the squad? How do you think the feeling is over there? There's been a lot of news coming out regarding Donny van de Beek. Does this affect him in any way? Yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, our team, our guy, our number 7. Look, again, in the last episode, I said he's going to Manchester. We didn't know if it was blue or red. Ended up being red, thankfully. How it impacts the team, I think Ronaldo will play as a 9. I think he's lost a yard or 2 on pace. He's still a fantastic player, fantastic athlete. I think he still has 3 or 4 seasons left in him. So I think he'll play as a 9. Obviously with Rashford and Greenwood, Sancho, coming from the wings, and Cavani will then be used as an impact player, from the bench. I think the whole mood around, or the whole mood in Manchester has probably changed now. You could see in the last game, fans were upbeat. There's something bigger to look forward to. Signing Sancho, Varane was big, and then getting Ronaldo, it's a cherry on top. So I think we can compete to a certain extent. I don't think maybe in all the competitions, but I think we can compete to win at least one trophy this season, whether it be the league or the or cup run. So yeah, I think with Ronaldo being there, him by himself, it's already created that atmosphere. And also with the youngsters like Rashford and Greenwood, Sancho, there's a lot of things that he can sort of teach them, where they can pick up from. And these are guys who looked up to Ronaldo 10 years ago when they were youth players or in the academy while he was there. So for them to play alongside him, I think that will already let them better their game to the next level. With regards to Donny, look, there was a lot of talk in the papers, on deadline day, where a deal was put through for him to move to Everton, or something was, put through in writing. I think he had Solskjaer's blessing, so to say he could move, and then at the 25th hour they said they're blocking the deal. And prior to that, last season, they obviously made him promises. There will be a system that will be implemented. He would be slotted into the system. That didn't materialize. Talks were obviously held this season. He will be guaranteed playing time. Nothing has happened thus far in the first 2 or 3 games. And again, they've now made him promises. You will be guaranteed game time. But with Ronaldo coming, that obviously makes things difficult for me. The way I see it is because Ronaldo goes up front. That means Pogba comes off the left. So Pogba will be slotted into the double pivot. Thankfully, McFred will be out of the team. So your guy who can pass straight. So at least we have a guy now with Pogba coming into the double pivot that can pick a pass. So that I don't know, that seems like it's going to make things even more tough for Donny. And I think his agent has already said that he's not a cup run player. He needs to start every game and play 90 minutes. So it will be interesting to see what pans out in the next five games at least.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I don't know if you caught the interview with Rio Ferdinand on his podcast, and Donny's basically crying out just to play. He doesn't he doesn't mind where he plays. He was saying
Yeah,
6,
he
8,
said
10.
he could be a
Yeah.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's basically just crying out for game time, and
Which I don't mind. I think again, I said in the last episode, he can play in a 6 position. I'd rather have him play in a 6 than someone like Fred who can't pick a pass. I'd rather have Donny there. No, he can pick a 10-yard pass or a 15-yard pass than Fred trying these Hollywood balls and getting one pass out of 10 as accuracies. I'd rather have Donny in that position.
no,
Maybe
100%.
Ronaldo will pick him in his team this weekend because we all know Ollie's not calling any shots anymore.
I feel like Ole's like the team that he's assembled is basically like the Infinity Gauntlet, and he doesn't know how to use it. He has all these stones in the gauntlet.
Nah, he's missing the reality stone, in my opinion. You guys are missing a midfield. You guys are missing a proper midfield, and that. Sorry, that's just my 2 cents.
No.
Send Van der Beek to the carpet and make Arsenal a Dutch club again. Then we'll prosper.
Yeah, but we had opportunity to get Bergkamp in the mix, and then you would have followed. Simple.
Overmars is
Bergkamp, Overmars,
like
and then you'll follow. Exactly. There we go. Simple, right? Get Dennis, get Overmars, and then Ajax 3.0. Because they're already out of Ajax Cape Town, so they need to be in somewhere else. So Ajax Arsenal can work.
Mubeen, I have one question for you.
Yes.
Are you not going a bit too easy on your club, saying that after that transfer window you'd be happy with a cup, like a League Cup or FA
like
Cup?
a Carabao Cup?
I mean, after Carabao Cup. I mean, what is that?
Definitely not Carabao. Definitely not Carabao. Either League or Champions League. I am possibly going too easy, but the only reason why I said so is, and I think AF will agree with me, is because both AF and I, we agree that we don't think Allah is the man to win us a treble. He's not going to win a Champions League and the league in a season. I don't see it. I think AF feels the same way. I don't think he's got the stature, the experience right now, and if he's not going to do it in this season, then I mean, I think that proves that he's not the manager to take us forward.
Look, I don't think it's too far-fetched to talk about the Champions League, because if there is one player who can single-handedly take a team to a trophy, it's Ronaldo. We saw him do it in the Euros. He dragged the team over the line, even from the sidelines as a manager. So if there's any team, obviously Pochettino will get in his own way at PSG, but Ronaldo's one man who can take up that challenge. Say, like, Messi's not going to win this thing with that team. I'm going to make it difficult for him.
You were going to say Jersey Dudek, but okay, Ronaldo works as well.
Dudek's a bit more flexible than Ronaldo, I suppose, with those crazy penalty saves.
Hey, to be fair, he went to Real Madrid afterwards, eh? But yeah, awesome. That is a wrap on episode 3 of the 343 podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Sportycast, and like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our podcast on all major platforms as well. That would be Spotify and Google Podcasts, and I think we are in the process of getting it onto Apple Podcasts as well. And yeah, but thanks, Ziyaad, Jason, Mubeen, and Nikita. It's been a pleasure having everybody on again. I'm AF for 343. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys next time.